Imagine this. Your nosy HOA turns your quiet life upside down by calling the cops on your wife for something totally harmless. But what if that backfires spectacularly because she's not just any woman, she's the law itself? Stick around, because this true inspired tale of revenge, redemption, and sweet justice will have you cheering by the end. Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel where we dive into real-life stories that hit you right in the feels. Tales of everyday heroes facing off against bullies, with twists that restore your faith in karma. Today, I've got a story that's equal parts heart-wrenching and triumphant. It's called HOA Called the Cops on My Wife, Then Learned She Was the Law. Picture a picture-perfect suburb in the heart of Texas. Wide streets, manicured lawns, and an HOA that's more like a dictatorship than a neighborhood watch. That's where my wife Elena and I moved 5 years ago. We were in our mid-40s, chasing that American dream after years of city hustle. I work as a software engineer from home, and Elena? She had just retired from a high-stakes career as a federal prosecutor. Yeah, you heard that right. She spent 2 decades putting away corrupt officials, drug kingpins, and white-collar crooks. But burnout hit hard, so she stepped back to focus on us and our 2 kids. Retirement didn't mean sitting idle for Elena. She's got this fire in her soul, always helping people. So she started a small legal aid clinic right out of our home office. Nothing fancy, just free advice for neighbors dealing with evictions, custody battles, or debt collectors. She'd meet clients on our porch or in the living room, keeping it low-key. It was her way of giving back, and honestly, it brought her so much joy. Our kids adored seeing Mom as this quiet superhero, and I fell in love with her, all over again watching her empower folks, who had nowhere else to turn. But enter the villain, Margaret Hayes, the HOA president. Mid-60s, sharp as a tack, clipboard always in hand, glare that could wilt flowers. Margaret ruled our cul-de-sac like her personal kingdom. She'd fine people for grass a shade too long or holiday lights up a day past deadline. Elena's clinic? That set her off big time. This is a residential zone, not a charity hub. She'd rant at meetings. She claimed the extra foot traffic violated HOA bylaws. Never mind that we only had a handful of visitors a week, all respectful and quiet. At first, it was just passive-aggressive notes taped to our door. Reminder, home businesses are prohibited. Elena, ever the professional, responded politely, citing local zoning laws that allowed non-commercial community services. But Margaret wasn't having it. She escalated, rallying a few busybody neighbors. Whispers turned to complaints, and soon our mailbox was stuffed with violation notices. It hurt, you know? We weren't hurting anyone. We were helping. Our daughter Mia, who's 12, started having anxiety about it, asking why that mean lady hated us. Elena stayed calm, but I could see the toll. Late nights she'd confide in me, tears in her eyes. I just want to make a difference. Tom, why fight kindness? Things boiled over one crisp autumn afternoon. Elena was wrapping up a session with a single mom facing foreclosure when Margaret stormed up our driveway, red-faced, waving her phone. "I've had enough," she shouted, loud enough for the whole block to hear. "You're turning this neighborhood into a welfare office." Elena stepped out, composed as ever, trying to de-escalate. "Margaret, let's talk this through. This isn't a business, it's volunteer work." But Margaret was on a warpath. She dialed 911 right there, exaggerating wildly. "There's an illegal operation here. Strangers coming and going, could be drugs for all I know." My heart sank when I heard the sirens. 2 officers pulled up, looking confused. The whole neighborhood was watching, curtains twitching, phones recording. Elena's client hurried away, embarrassed, and Mia peeked out the window, wide-eyed and scared. The cops questioned Elena, but she handled it like the pro she is, ID in hand, explaining everything calmly. They quickly realized it was a nothing burger, just HOA drama. "Ma'am, this seems civil, not criminal," one officer said to Margaret, who huffed and puffed but couldn't back down. As they left, she sneered at Elena. "This isn't over." "I'll shut you down if it's the last thing I do." Elena just smiled faintly and said, "Be careful what you wish for." That night, our family dinner was tense. The kids were upset, I was furious, but Elena? She was plotting. Not revenge, justice. In her prosecutor days, she'd dealt with far worse than petty tyrants. She pulled out her old contacts and started digging. Turns out our HOA wasn't as squeaky clean as Margaret pretended. Elena uncovered shady financials, dues funneled into personal perks like Margaret's association trips that looked an awful lot like vacations, and the bylaws Margaret enforced so rigidly, they'd been amended illegally years ago without proper votes. The real drama unfolded at the next HOA meeting, packed with curious neighbors. Margaret opened with her usual smug agenda, targeting our violation first. But Elena stood up, poised and powerful, holding a stack of papers. "Before we vote," she said, her voice steady but laced with emotion, "let's address the elephant in the room." She revealed everything: emails, receipts, legal precedents. The room gasped as she laid it out. The HOA was in violation of state laws, risking dissolution if audited. Margaret's face drained of color. "Who do you think you are?" she spat. Elena paused, then dropped the bomb. "I'm Elena Ramirez, former assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District. I've prosecuted bigger fish than this for fraud and embezzlement." The silence was deafening. Neighbors murmured, "Piecing it together, this kind?" Quiet woman who'd helped half the block with free advice was a legal powerhouse. Margaret stammered, You're what?" In that moment, the tables turned. Elena didn't gloat. She offered an olive branch. "We can fix this together. Transparent elections, fair rules. Or we can let the authorities handle it." Tears welled in Margaret's eyes as realization hit. The woman she'd tried to bully was the very embodiment of the law she'd weaponized. By the end, the board voted to reform, and Margaret stepped down quietly, humbled. Our clinic? It thrived, even getting HOA approval as a community resource. Looking back, it wasn't just about winning. It was emotional healing for us all. Elena taught me and our kids that standing up with grace beats shouting any day. And Margaret? She actually apologized months later, sharing how her own fears of change had blinded her. Karma doesn't always destroy. Sometimes it redeems. If this story touched you, like it did me, hit that like button to spread the good vibes. Subscribe for more tales of everyday triumphs, and share it with a friend who needs a reminder that kindness wins. You guys are the best part of this channel. Thanks for watching till the end. See you in the next one.